Good afternoon/evening. How you doing, Jonty? Good to see you.
You as well. I'm doing great. It's every now and then I'll see a headline in the mainstream news that it just makes me fall out of my chair. What was that article we were looking at again? Commonly prescribed
drugs are tied to nearly 50% higher dementia risk. That headline is so packed. I actually have it here somewhere too. First of all, I've noticed, I read a lot of health news. You probably read a lot of health news too. Have you noticed a lot of stuff about Alzheimer's dementia coming out here in the last couple of weeks? I've read an article about dental disease, gum disease, and Alzheimer's disease. I've got one on sleep and Alzheimer's. This is all in the last month or so. Sleep and Alzheimer's disease, gut bacteria and Alzheimer's disease, vaccine for Alzheimer's disease. And then this one just came out a couple days ago about anticholinergic drugs specifically. I'll explain that in a moment. But that headline has a couple of things that are important, I think. Number one, the idea of drugs. We take prescription drugs and we just don't think about what we're taking. When you take a prescription drug, you are taking something that is going to shut down something in your body, period. It's going to block a receptor. It's going to turn off an enzyme system. It is going to turn something off. That's how drugs work. Even drugs that speed things up sometimes work by turning other things off. So by turning off an inhibitory kind of system, you accelerate biochemistry. So drugs, whether you want to say they block or they stimulate, any way you look at it, they interfere with chemistry. It's as simple as that. And you can't interfere with chemistry exogenously, artificially, and when I say artificially, I mean in a non-food way, without expecting to have repercussions. It can't happen. That's true. Food interferes with chemistry, but you need to eat food, and food supports biochemistry in the human body, and cells have evolved to work with food. They have not evolved to work with drugs. Drugs are 150-year-old based on 150-year-old technology, or maybe 200-year-old technology since the beginning of the 19th century. That's really when drugs and organic chemistry was born, and the human body hasn't caught up to that. The human body can't adjust to that. So you take a drug, the body mobilizes its poison control system. What is not eliminated or detoxified is going to have an effect. They call them side effects, but I don't think of them as side effects. I think of them as effects.
Right.
The term side effect implies like it's an accident of some kind.
Right.
It's not an accident. It's how it works.
Sure.
So that headline, number one, reminds me that there's no way you can take a prescription drug and not have ramifications or not have repercussions. And number two, that there's a relationship between the drugs we take and the health of our brain. Okay? So the class of drugs they're talking about are called anticholinergic drugs. Have you heard of this term, anticholinergics? The choline system, or specifically the acetylcholine system. Choline is a nutrient. I'll talk about that here in a second. It's found in various foods, and it has a reputation for being important for brain health because a derivative of it, which is called acetylcholine, plays a major role in how the brain works, particularly around learning. And we know that the choline or the acetylcholine system is disrupted in folks who have Alzheimer's disease. So if you take a drug that has anticholinergic or anti-acetylcholine effects, turn that off there, anti-acetylcholine effects, it makes sense that you're going to have a problem with brain health. By the way, the anticholinergic drugs that block this choline system tend to give you dry mouth. So I don't know if you've ever taken a prescription drug and had dry mouth, or smoked marijuana and had they call it cotton mouth, right? That's all the manifestation of a blockade of choline or the acetylcholine system. So antihistamines are notorious for this, Benadryl, antipsychotics, antidepressants, drugs that they give you for motion sickness like Dramamine, cannabis, CBD. All of these can have anticholinergic effects, and they can I'm not going to say that they're causal, and they're not saying these things cause Alzheimer's disease. They're saying they're associated with Alzheimer's disease and dementia. So I don't know necessarily that there's like a one-to-one relationship. You take Benadryl or you take your antidepressant and you'll get Alzheimer's disease, but it just doesn't do a body good. It doesn't do the acetylcholine system good. So number one, you can't take a drug and not expect to have side effects. Number two, these anticholinergic drugs, or use of the anticholinergic drugs, is linked to dementia. I think I read how I think 10% of dementia cases, according to a study that I read, are linked to these anticholinergic drugs. So I'm not a big believer in statistics, and when they say 10% of dementia cases or 50% higher risk, I'm not a big believer in these statistical correlations that they make. Nonetheless, the fact is, if you're taking a drug, an anticholinergic drug or any kind of drug, you have to expect that you're going to put a burden on the body. And that's the key. Dementia is really not a brain disease, it's a brain cell disease. And as we've said so many times, all diseases are cell diseases.
Right.
And the cause of cell diseases is duress, whether that duress is caused by nutritional deficiency, whether that duress is caused by a problem with oxygenation, or whether that duress is caused by toxicity. And sugar counts as a toxin, and there is a relationship between dementia and sugar intake as well. In fact, Alzheimer's dementia is called type 3 diabetes. And by the way, we should probably make a distinction between Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Alzheimer's disease, which has become synonymous with dementia, is really a type of dementia that is technically early onset dementia. So it's like when you have it when you're in your 50s or 60s. Dementia that's associated with old age is just dementia. It's not Alzheimer's disease. So when they talk about Alzheimer's dementia, they use it synonymously with all dementias. But dementias are just deterioration of the brain. Alzheimer's disease is when the brain deteriorates at an early age. And that's the key. Dementia is just arthritis of the brain. It's just like when you have arthritis, you have a deterioration of the joints. When you have dementia, you have deterioration of parts of the brain. If you have a deterioration in the learning center, you'll have learning issues. If you have it in the memory center, you'll have memory issues. If you have the movement center, you'll have movement issues. Interestingly, Parkinson's disease there's a form of dementia called Parkinson's dementia. And it's the same kind of thing because it's just deterioration of the brain. We have this obsession with diagnosing things and labeling things.
Right.
There's all these disease diagnoses, but there's really only one disease, right? MBFA disease. My body is falling apart disease. Brain is falling apart. The only disease there is. And that's how we want to look at it, because then it becomes so much less complicated to have to deal with it. You don't have to have a protocol for multiple sclerosis. You don't have to have a protocol for Alzheimer's disease. You don't have to have a protocol for heart disease. You don't have to have a protocol for liver disease. You don't have to have protocols for different parts of the body when you zoom in on the real nature of disease, which is cellular. And the difference between a brain cell and a kidney cell is not that much. A kidney cell needs just what a brain cell needs. Maybe a brain cell needs a little bit more of it because a brain cell is working so hard. But nonetheless, a cell is a cell is a cell. They all need the mighty 90 essential nutrients. They all need oxygen, and they all need a clean place to do its work. If you rob them of the mighty 90 essential nutrients, you're going to have a sick cell. If it's in the kidney, you'll have kidney disease, liver disease, brain, you'll have brain disease. If you rob any cell of oxygen, if you confront a cell with toxicity, including sugar, you're going to have a problem. And that's how we want to look at these health challenges, not so much specifically for the organ itself, as much as it is for overall for the body, to take care of each of the 100 trillion cells in the body, and actually to take care of one of the cells. If you just take care of one cell in the body, you'll be taking care of all 100 trillion cells. Right. So just focus on one cell. How simple is that, right? Doesn't that simplify everything? Just focus on one cell. We know what a cell needs. Just focus on that one cell. Now, something also very interesting about this choline system and acetylcholine and anticholinergics is choline or acetylcholine, which is a derivative of choline, is derived from foods. You can eat choline-containing foods. You can actually take choline as a supplement. And a lot of brain health supplements contain choline. In fact, most brain health supplements will contain choline. One of the best sources of choline is lecithin. And eggs, which are rich in lecithin. In fact, eggs have a reputation for being a brain food, and a lot of folks will attribute that to the cholesterol. But the choline is just as important. There's a great source of choline. Shellfish, meat, those are good sources of choline. If you're vegetarian, legumes are a good source of choline. Spinach is a good source of choline. Beets are a good source of choline. But I don't necessarily like targeting nutrients for the brain. Just think of taking choline for the entire body, or using lecithin. If you have MTHFR, have you heard about this MTHFR reductase deficiency issue? A lot of people say they don't have the gene, or their gene is, that's a whole another myth in the world of health. but some people don't methylate, and methylation is a way of activating certain molecules. Well, it turns out that you can use choline either as a supplement or choline-containing foods if you have MTHFR, reductase deficiency, the enzyme that is involved in methylation, and choline is a methylating agent. So that can help you if you're dealing with that kind of, if you've been told you have an MTHFR deficiency. Methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase, MTHFR. That's the name of the enzyme. That's a little bit, we can get into it. We can do a video on that maybe sometime. And maybe people could put in the comments if they want us to do a video. So if you want to protect yourself from Alzheimer's disease or dementia, you do the same thing that you do if you want to protect yourself from any health challenge. Number one, work on gut health. There actually is a very important connection between gut health and the brain. I've been saying this for years. Earlier this week, there was an article that came out that talked about gut health being related to Parkinson's disease. This is from WebMD. This came out earlier this year. Gut bacteria linked to dementia risk. Well, it's just common logic. If you understand how the body's put together, there's a very important relationship between the digestive system and the brain. So make sure you take care of your digestive health. Use essence, probiotics, make sure you're on your ultimate enzymes, apple cider vinegar with meals, stay away from problem foods, eat less foods. Folks who have dementia or who are caretakers for people who have dementia will notice that dementia symptoms get worse with certain foods. And they'll also notice that oftentimes dementia patients will have digestive health issues. Likewise, blood sugar, as I said earlier. Alzheimer's disease has been called type 3 diabetes. You have type 1 diabetes, which is the autoimmune diabetes. You have type 2 diabetes, which is insulin resistance, which is most diabetes. Now they think that Alzheimer's dementia is a form of diabetes. Well, I know my dad had Alzheimer's dementia, or he had dementia, and I noticed when he loved fruit juice, apple juice. When he drank apple juice, his symptoms would get worse. I saw that, and wouldn't take very long. And it makes perfect sense. Sugar revs up the brain. Sugar revs up chemistry. Sugar creates a situation of toxicity, causes something called glycation, which is a breaking down of blood vessels. The brain is highly perfused. So make sure that you're keeping your blood sugar down. We know the ketogenic diet can be helpful for folks who have dementia. Ketogenic diet, of course, is a high-fat, low-calorie diet. In fact, I consider the ketogenic diet to be the ideal way for everybody to eat, but especially for folks who are dealing with dementia or who want to prevent dementia issues. Then we come to the whole stress connection. Cortisol, stress hormone. Lower your stress hormone levels. Make sure you're improving oxygenation, slow deep breathing, SDR breathing. This is the triangle of disease that underlies all health challenges: the digestive system, the blood sugar system, and the stress management system. Oxygenation is a great way to turn off the stress system of the body, and of course the brain is highly dependent on oxygen, so making sure you're doing your SDR breathing. Here's another interesting one. Folks who take care of Alzheimer's patients know that there's a phenomenon called sundowning. Have you heard of this? Sundowning? When the sun goes down, all dementia symptoms get worse. And as it turns out, I was just reading this somewhere here. Let me find this article. I collect these articles, and today I just got on the web and looked up a bunch of stuff. Study: sunshine could help stave off dementia. You know what that's about? Vitamin D. Vitamin D is the most important brain health vitamins you could use. The sun is a great source of vitamin D. Just to give you an idea of what I just got, this is just today. I got a bunch of these. Could gut bacteria be linked to dementia risk? We talked about that. Here's a good one. Disrupted sleep. We know that poor sleep habits or less sleep is linked to dementia symptoms, and according to Science Daily, or actually the University of California, Berkeley, in your neck of the woods here, disrupted sleep in one's 50s and 60s raises risk of Alzheimer's disease. Now, some of this may have to do with stress hormone. We know as people get older, their cortisol levels tend to increase. They have problems sleeping. Making sure you're getting good rest is obviously it's an important health strategy, but it seems to be especially important for the brain. Here's a good one. Hypertension treatment. They want to give you drugs now. Antihypertensive, which, by the way, are among the most nastiest drugs of all the prescription drugs, are the antihypertensive drugs. This is a study that was done from, where was this from? This is from the journal Hypertension. A calcium channel drug, is actually, which opens up blood vessels, is actually being used as a treatment, or is being studied as a treatment for Alzheimer's. Of course, vasodilation, the opening up of blood vessels, which helps lower hypertension, can help improve perfusion, oxygenation, and blood supply to the brain. So that's the logic there. But again, you're going to run into all kinds of problems if you try to use therapy, pharmacotherapy.
Well, what the headline really says to me is that the traditional medical model prescribed drugs for a variety of conditions. One of them is to help improve bladder control. Now there's 10,000, 20,000. It could be over 100,000 people out there who took a drug to help them control their bladder, and now they have dementia.
Right. Based on the statistics, based on the numbers.
Based on the statistics that they're showing here, yeah.
Well, I mean, we have to take responsibility for our health. We can't depend on the medical model to take responsibility for us. When I was a pharmacist, when I was practicing pharmacy, in the drugstore, people would actually throw a plastic bag filled with prescription bottles, 10, 12, 14 prescription bottles, on my counter, and just say fill them, and not even know what the heck was in them. Not even care to have a consult. People take drugs, just assume that the doctor is going to take care of us, that the medical model will take care of us, that the FDA knows what they're doing. It doesn't work that way. Prescription drugs are not an answer for disease. Period. End of story. At best, they can be a Band-Aid to temporarily get you through a time of trouble. Pain pills have their place. Antibiotics have their place. But there's no prescription drugs that you will be better off by taking, with the exception of, in the short term, maybe, as I say, antibiotics. Other than that, you're going to, and even antibiotics, you're going to be dealing with issues. You're going to be dealing with toxicity. Maybe you need antibiotics, but now you're killed off the good bacteria in your gut. You're on a course of antibiotics. Make sure when you're done, you're taking probiotics, and make sure you're eating lots of fermented food and taking care of digestive health.
Ben, I saw a very interesting video the other day. I think it was Adam Miller, who's on the Critical Health News phone team, sent it to me. It's interviews from 1929 with very, very old people, folks in their 80s and 90s. They were born around the time, Thomas Jefferson was still around, some of these folks. And one of the comments under the video was, here, I'll read it. It was, they look and sound damn healthy for being 80 to 90 years old. 237 replies to that comment, and all of them are saying, like, what the heck is going on? How come these folks, close to 100 years ago, in their old age, are so completely lucid? They're just sharp and intelligent, and it's all still going on upstairs.
So what's the conclusion?
Well, I mean, there's everybody's got different theories. They say it's the junk food that we eat, but certainly there's a lot of criticism of our contemporary medical system, and they're pointing, a lot of folks pointing fingers there as well.
It's the healthcare system, and now you're following the politics of everything. They want to have universal healthcare, Medicare for all. That is a terrible situation. Getting on a good nutritional supplement program, exercising, making sure you're using general holistic strategies, that's the way to go. And eating, I mean, there's so many different things we can do. We've been talking on the bright side for a couple of weeks about all the lifestyle things that you can do. And by the way, for dementia, there's lots of lifestyle things you could do to reduce your risk. What I like to do when I go to the store and I go to the bulk section, you get the nuts and the various rice and seeds, et cetera, in the bulk section. And then they have a little tag that you can write the number on and put it on the plastic bag. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Instead of writing the number down, memorize it. Just do some kind of memory trick and memorize it. Memorize your credit card number. Memorize phone numbers. This is a great way to improve brain-derived neurotropic factor, BDNF, which is a chemical that improves blood supply to the brain. So practicing numbers or practicing memorizing is a great way to improve blood supply to the brain, oxygenation, reduce your risk of dementia. Read books. Study a new language. Take a course, a local college course, an online course, learn something new, travel, do crossword puzzles, make sure you're getting enough sleep. These are all healthy strategies that will protect your brain from dementia. Meditation, another great way to protect yourself from Alzheimer's dementia or any dementia. Improve brain health. Meditation improves focus. Meditation improves oxygenation of the brain. Meditation reduces cortisol. Meditation is by far and away the best medication that you can take for a whole bunch of stuff, simply by its effects on cortisol, let alone for Alzheimer's or for dementia issues, for improving mental health. There's supplements you could use. Vitamin E is tremendously valuable for brain health. Alpha lipoic acid, zinc, the B complex. And the B complex is one that we excrete regularly. So by making sure you're taking the B complex and your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Beyond Tangy Tangerine is one of the best anti-dementia supplements you could ever use. It's loaded with B vitamins, very important for brain health. It's loaded with electrolytes, very important for brain health. It's loaded with vitamin C, which are very important for brain health. Make sure you're eating choline. Make sure you're getting enough. We talked about you can use choline as a supplement, but you can also get choline from eggs and from liver, from spinach, or legumes if you're a vegetarian. Essential fatty acids, particularly omega-3 essential fatty acids, which are very difficult to find. You're getting a lot of fish to get your omega-3 essential fatty acids. Flaxseed oil, chia seed oil is a good source of omega-3s. Fish oil has derivatives of omega-3 that are important for brain health. And, of course, supplemented with your ultimate EFAs will get you omega-3 fatty acids. Vitamin C, I mentioned, is also important for brain health. Vitamin D from the sun is important for brain health. There's a substance called glutathione, which we should probably do a video on. Really amazingly important stuff. Very, very helpful for the entire nervous system, and particularly for the brain. You can build your own glutathione with glutamine supplements, which is available as a powder, glycine from bone soup or gelatin, and also the mineral selenium, the mineral zinc, which I mentioned, I guess. Glutamine, glycine, there's another one, cysteine. Glutamine, glycine, and cysteine, making sure you're getting enough cysteine. N-acetylcysteine is a great source of cysteine, and that's important for brain health. Niacin is a particularly important B vitamin for brain health. Niacin is actually part of the acetylcholine system in the brain, and niacin is such an important vitamin, vitamin B3, that your body will actually make niacin if you don't have enough niacin. But it's still a good idea to make sure that you're supplementing with it.
Ben, what about folks who are dealing particularly with depression? That seemed to be like the main medical use of this category of drugs.
Yeah, anticholinergics, a lot of antidepressants, particularly the older antidepressants, are anticholinergic drugs, which is kind of ironic because you already got a mental health issue. You take an antidepressant for your mental health issue. Now you're going to be dealing with another mental health issue. Right. So it's sort of ironic that way. Everything we talked about just now is good for all mental health issues, not just dementia, which is a brain health issue, but also mental health issues and emotional issues. Now, I'm always hesitant to use just physical strategies to deal with mental issues. A lot of times when we have mental health issues or emotional health issues, it's not strictly physical. There's physical correlates, and there's certainly physical things you could do to improve your symptomology. But if you have trauma, PTSD, a reason to be depressed, grief that you haven't dealt with, all those things need to be addressed on those levels. Nonetheless, using zinc, vitamin E, the B vitamins, meditating, staying away from problem foods, staying away from anticholinergic drugs, eating choline substances, all of these can be great strategies for folks who are depressed or folks who have bipolar disorder or other mental or emotional health issues that are not organic, that aren't physiologic, like Alzheimer's, like dementias. Dementia is a physiologic condition. And by the way, I forgot to mention, they also want to do vaccine. Have you heard about the vaccine for Alzheimer's disease?
No, but it makes me nervous. So the 250 vaccines that are in the works.
They want to vaccinate you against the fibers. The hallmark sign of Alzheimer's dementia, or what they call plaques, which are lesions. They're like thickenings made up of fiber. A particular sugar protein kind of substance called amyloid. Amyloid plaques. Well, these amyloid plaques are fibers, actually. They're made up of fibers and various substances like calcium that create these kind of Band-Aids in the brain, are there to protect the brain. They're a patch against deteriorating tissue. And you can get fibrosis. Fibrosis in general is one of the ways we break down. In fact, there's no diseases that aren't associated with fibrosis. Amyloidosis or amyloid plaques are a form of fibrosis. You get fibrosis in the joints, you get fibrosis in the lungs, you get fibrosis in the liver, you get fibrosis in organs that are breaking down. So the fibrosis in the brain is just fibrosis in the liver that's happening in the brain. It's the same kind of thing. It's a repair mechanism. So now they want to vaccinate against the repair mechanism. This is the genius medical model.
And once you're vaccinated, there's no going back. I mean,
I don't even know how the vaccine work, but it'll protect against, somehow it will. I don't even know how it works, to tell you the truth, but it's a vaccine against the plaques somehow, that will protect the brain against the plaques. I'm not all that familiar with the vaccine, but the idea is that we can somehow save ourselves from ourselves.
Right. Right.
That's what's happening. We're damaging ourselves, and we're going to save ourselves from the crappy food we eat, the stress we're under, the nutritional deficiency, the lousy digestive system, all the things that we do that cause our illnesses. We're going to save ourselves from that.
Right.
I say, let's start living our lives in a healthy way, starting with a nutritional supplement program, but also making sure you're practicing your SDR breathing, making sure you're moving your body, making sure you're eating less food, using mental strategies like reading and memorizing, getting enough sleep.
Sure.
Why doesn't that make more sense?
Well, having a reason to live and going for the occasional walk in the woods is it could be a substantial part. Could be an alternative to taking a drug that's going to increase your chances of having dementia by 50%.
Right. Remember we talked about what's in the woods, the magic of the woods, the negative ions.
Right.
Forest bathing.
Mm-hmm.
You're so lucky you live in Santa Cruz. That's why people who live in Santa Cruz love it so much. You're immersed in negative ions.
Right. The lady we bought our house from, it was 96 when she was moving out of here. We live out in the woods. There's redwood trees just out.
Good for
on
you.
The other side of the wall here. Yeah. So I think we should maybe go breathe some fresh air, Ben. I think we've done a good job of covering this topic.
Go ahead. You're lucky you got the woods and you got the beach.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks so much, man.
All right, Jonty. Good to talk to you, my man.